So let's talk about the preview for episode 5 of Game of Thrones and what's going to be happening based on the fact that there's only 2 episodes left. There's only so much they can do, so much they can cram in to such a small season. So in this episode, we're going to be having the war for King's Landing. There's no way around it. Dany and her forces clashing against the Lannister army backed by the Golden Company and Euron Greyjoy with his Iron Fleet. And there's no way the wall we saw in the last episode is going to be left standing, not when Dany still has a dragon. Now, because we literally have 2 episodes left in the show, expect a lot of deaths. Now, what's interesting though is that from the last episode, the showrunners are clearly setting up Dany going nuts with revenge against Cersei. From all that she's lost, to her dragon, to Missandei, then having her right to the throne questioned by Jon. In the last episode, Missandei basically told Daenerys to burn everyone to the ground, Dracarys, which is High Valyrian for dragonfire. So if the ancient Targaryens could take King's Landing and all of Westeros with 3 dragons, I'm pretty sure Dany can take this tiny area. So all of this basically means that something crazy is going to happen. After all of the people being in the capital, what Cersei planned from the last episode, this may not mean a whole lot, besides a stalemate. And you can't have a stalemate with 2 episodes left. These have to be action-packed. I think that's what D&D wanted. So there's no time to wait. I think Dany is just going to charge right in there with her armies, even risk the lives of the people in King's Landing. Cersei's plan basically backfiring. There's no other reason to continuously show her getting angry in the last episode unless it was leading to something. Something like this. And these showrunners are pretty obvious with their setups. Like in this teaser, we have a scene where Tyrion is very cautiously approaching Dany, who is seen isolated on her own, which means she's probably weighing a heavy option to breach the castle, because that is basically the cliffhanger from the last episode. I think she will become a little insane just like her father before her. The show definitely has changed a lot since season 7 onward, and it's very debatable if it's still as great as it was, with such a rushed, condensed story with lots of time skips and weird decision making, and these characters I've heard are not that familiar to how they were in season 1 to 4. I mean, they once had a plethora of material to work with. I can't imagine the show ending in a very satisfying way. Just like the way that Night King was terribly handled, I think as we're nearing the end of this show, every episode is going to be disappointing in some way. Season 8 basically is going to be regarded as the worst season of Game of Thrones, just based on all of the hate it's getting, all of the criticism it's getting, which season 7 never really got, not to this degree. And really, the Night King started all of that. D&D, who are the 2 showrunners and writers for the series, are sort of making this show their own thing at this point, and vaguely following the plot point Martin told them a few years ago. But this episode's going to be action-packed. People are going to die. I know for a fact Euron is going to. His entire purpose is this war. He's to fight the war. He has no political gain here. He's not a political player like Tyrion would be. And a navalry battle will not be the last thing you're going to have. It's going to be the big showdown with the castle, so the navalry is going to go first. Probably going to be the first thing we see in the episode. People don't think oceans when they think of Game of Thrones. Dany is probably going to kill Euron herself, or at least do something to get revenge on the loss of her dragon, maybe actually burn down his fleet, who she completely forgot about, apparently in the last episode, was the reasoning D&D gave, which is astounding. But going back to deaths, there's no way Cersei is surviving this battle in the end. She's definitely going to die, but it's hard to predict when she's going to die. She might die the next episode. Grey Worm is going to be leading the Unsullied through the streets of King's Landing once the walls are breached, because the final battle of Game of Thrones is not just going to take place outside a castle. And by the fact that we got a scene in the teaser where we see Cersei's army marching through the streets, we know that's a set piece they have, and they're likely to reuse it. Jaime also returned to King's Landing. He's probably going to make a surprise appearance within the wall somehow, not even going to question how he got inside, and beg Cersei for forgiveness or something like that, and maybe try prevent a war and save her sister, because we basically were shown in the last episode that Jaime gave up. Like, his arc basically regressed into who he was initially. He made no progress as a person, and I'm hoping George R.R. Martin doesn't make the same decision in his books. It's very similar to what Dany's going through. Dany was initially very insane, just like her father, and then she slowly changed into an honorable person, someone that would make a better choice. And now she's probably going to go insane again. But I mean, we're going to be getting main character deaths, maybe even Jaime in the next episode. There's going to be a lot happening, but if Dany does put King's Landing in flames, it's really hard to say who's the bad guy, at least from the perspective of the common folk in King's Landing, who are clearly under the impression that Cersei is saving them. So even if Dany becomes queen, she's not going to be beloved by the people, probably even hated more than the people hate Cersei. But yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones, it's getting a lot of criticism lately, and if you didn't like season 8 so far, I don't think you're going to like the last 2 episodes because they're not going to be any different. Something will get overlooked, just like the Starbucks coffee cup somehow that remained in the show, or Dany somehow forgetting Euron's fleet existed entirely, or Arya skydiving onto the Night King, like etc. There's a lot. But I mean, I can't wait to watch how this show is going to get any worse. But that's all it's going to be for this video. Drop a like down below and subscribe to get more Game of Thrones stuff.